stated, I'm the Deputy Administrator with the Franklin Regional Transit Authority. I have the pleasure of working for them for just over 21 years now.
Whoa,
So
amazing.
I have a little bit of history, which is why I tend to get excited. So I just made some notes to kind of keep myself focused a little bit. But just so that those of you that may or may not know, so we exist through the creation of RTAs with the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 161B. If you ever have trouble sleeping at night, please feel free to read it. And it will put you to sleep. But because of that, all the RTAs in Massachusetts were able to be created to provide public transportation services throughout the state. The Franklin Regional Transit Authority was created in 1978. So we are getting ready to celebrate our 50th anniversary in a couple more years. We do have 42 member towns. We stretch from obviously Franklin County, hence our name, but we do dip into, and many people don't realize this, Hampden, Hampshire County, as well as a few towns in Worcester County. We have a combined population of our service area is 102,000, almost 103,000 people, and we cover just shy of 1,200 square miles. So we're a big service area, and we're completely rural. So by definition, by federal definition, all of our service area is considered rural. FRTA, we sound big, we sound mean and tough in what we do. We're a very small operation. So FRTA, through the Mass General Law, does not operate any services that we have. We only are the administration. So our staff is extremely small. So there's only 3 administrative staff. There's the administrator, there's myself as the deputy administrator, and then we have a full-time bookkeeper. Outside of that, we have 2 call center customer service staff. We have 1 travel trainer that we recently brought in, and then we have 3 maintenance staff that take care of our facility. Everyone else that drives the bus for us, that runs our operations, are all through contracted services. And what we try to do is we try to put on an FRTA face, so the public looking at us will see FRTA everywhere you go. So all of our buses are branded FRTA, all of our documents are branded FRTA. And if you ask people if they work for FRTA, they smile politely and they say yes, but they really don't. We don't want to confuse people. So we work with several different contractors. The largest, we contract with a company called Transdev. They're a worldwide transportation management company. Their sub-corporation that works for us locally is called Franklin Transit Management. And we like to shorten everything to make it easy. We call them FTM. So if you've heard of FTM, that's just the sub-corp of who we contract with. They actually have about 50 employees in total, including drivers, dispatchers, our maintenance team, supervisors, managers, and the like. So compared to us, they're much bigger than we are. We also contract with 7 more councils on aging and other nonprofit and for-profit contractors to cover the rest of our service area. So Franklin Transit Management primarily operates in greater Franklin County, covering our fixed route services, our paratransit services and the like, and we'll get more into that as we go along. But some of the other organizations that we contract with is the Bernardston Council on Aging, which covers transportation for Bernardston Northfield, the Irving Council on Aging for the town of Irving, Hilltown Community Development Corporation, which has 11 towns in Hampshire and Hampden County, basically from Plainfield all the way down to Blandford. We have a partnership with Humes Transportation and the Southwick Council on Aging. They provide transportation for the town of Southwick, and we're slowly rolling them into also including Granville and Holland. If anybody's a fan of Connecticut, that's Connecticut. West of us is obviously New York, for us out in Western Massachusetts if you live in Boston.
So how come you go so far out of Franklin County?
That's a great question. So when we were created, before my time, thankfully, That's just how the map was drawn. So essentially, the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority, everybody's familiar with PVTA, big buses, Springfield, Northampton, Westfield. They have all the big cities. And then all of these smaller towns, they got lumped into us. So we take anybody. If you'll have us, we'll take you. We also contract with, Shelburne COA, who does, 9 towns in West County, Southampton Council on Aging and Westhampton Council on Aging. So now to talk a little bit about our services. So the big ones that people are familiar with is what we call our fixed route services. So that's like our city buses. So in the packet that I gave out, so we have, a total of 7 bus routes and we operate regular fixed line run service, which means that we have a set schedule. The buses will run throughout the day. We operate now 7 days a week, but for a million years, it seems, we were only Monday through Friday. Starting in January of 2024, we were able to get some additional funding to pilot weekend service, so we're very excited about that. We have received a new grant, so we're going to be starting some new service later in the summer. It's going to be a new fixed route from Greenfield to North Adams, so we'll have connections with the Berkshires. We're very excited about that, as well as we're going to add additional service to our line run that goes from Greenfield to Northampton. So it's going to bring it up to actually hourly service, which is going to be very impactful for us.
Amazing.
So a lot of people ask about fares. We get asked about fares all the time. So since COVID, we have ceased collecting fares on all of our fixed routes. So we collect no fares. Get on the bus and go. If you guys are interested in fares before COVID, we can go down that rabbit hole. But the intention is, I'm hoping our advisory board every year has a big discussion about fares, and every year they don't want to make a big step, so they make a little step and they defer fare collections for another year. But we're hoping that will be permanent. Regardless, because we've been not collecting fares for so long, our fare collection system is now antiquated. So we just literally took the fare boxes out of the bus. So if we do collect fares, we will have to do something very drastic, getting new equipment, new technologies and that type of thing. But we're hoping that we can continue down this path. It's been very impactful for our bus riders. It has reduced conflicts tremendously. Incidents and complaints have dropped since COVID dramatically. So we went through a very long exercise about 3 years ago now. I think it was 3 years ago. George has a better memory than all of us. We actually had to go through an exercise calculating and coming up with a cost for how much it costs for us to collect the fares that we collect. And the cost is actually more than what we actually collect. So financially, it doesn't make sense for us to collect money on the buses.
And has ridership increased because of that?
So the ridership has increased. We're a small staff, so it's hard to tell definitively why we've seen the increase. I don't have the increases in front of me, but I can tell you this fiscal year, we've been averaging about 13,000, a little over 13,000 trips per month. I would say roughly that would be about a 30% increase pre-COVID, give or take. I think
COVID and now, or
correct.
That's what you're comparing.
So
1,000 people, not trips.
Trips per month. So we don't count individuals, but every time someone boards the bus, we count them as a trip.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So if 2 people
Great question.
board, that's
2 trips.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. See, good question. Did I answer your question? I got
Yeah,
sidetracked.
so
Yeah.
you don't have numbers, but.
So I believe.
Ridership has increased by
Yeah.
about 30%.
So I believe some of
Okay.
that definitely has to do with not having to collect fares. I think there definitely is a correlation with that. I think also some of the things that we've done to improve our services, being able to add more services, definitely weekends was a big step in the right direction. And then we'll get into this very shortly, but I think adding additional services that complement our fixed route to give riders more choices. If you can take the fixed route to go one way and a different service to go the other way, it's a machine that keeps feeding itself.
Do you have a sense, a non, not, I'm not looking for statistics, but just general feeling
Perfect.
of like how full the buses are running, and if you have empty buses, or has that decreased the number of empty that sort of thing?
So the word full is obviously subjective or empty.
Yeah.
So I don't have a definitive sense. I can tell you that we don't run empty buses.
Okay.
So buses are empty, that means we're doing something wrong. So we would want to change and do something else. There are always cases in which a bus drives by and you happen to look, and that's the one time where it is empty. It could be deadheading, it could be doing a million different things at that moment. It could be the beginning of the route, the end of the route. It could be, we call it deadhead. Deadhead meaning we're not in service. We're going from the bus garage to the bus station, or the bus station to the bus garage. Yes,
There was a concert in.
I sometimes use internal words, so please, again, stop me. There could be a training bus out on the road training new drivers. So it could be different things that you're seeing. But ideally, we would not want the bus to go around empty because that doesn't serve anybody. So if we see those things, then we would want to have the conversation to kind of.
And do you have a
Fix it.
sense of like how full they tend to be?
I
You
don't.
have buses of
Yeah.
different sizes.
We do. I don't.
And being an energy person, there's like, I always think about
Yeah,
energy per person mile or something,
don't- track that information.
Yep.
But I can tell you that the new fixed route software that we are using has the ability to display, I believe it's customer facing on our smartphone app. Either a number or a percentage of the bus being full when you're looking at it. I would assume, but I haven't yet looked deeply into it. There may be a report tied to that. But I don't know to answer your question.
So you're getting some new software, whatever.
So we have some
which
new
might enable
software.
you to
Yep,
do
we're
that.
rolling it out through our entire fleet. And we have one of our operations supervisors, a part of her job is dedicated to getting the software fully functional and
Mhm.
up and running. It's pulling most of our fleet, but not 100% yet. But enough for riders to rely on when they're seeing things, but in terms of collecting that level of data, not quite yet. But good question.
A really quick semantic question, because I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. Is it correct to say that on your fixed route, 7 days a week, the bus is free?
Free. Yep.
Free.
All of our fixed route services are free. Weekdays, weekends. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
I did not know that. I will tell everyone.
Yep. Excellent. Aside from our fixed route services, we have what we call paratransit services, and it's multi-layered like an onion. So we have what we call demand response, which most people know as senior transportation services. So that would be for people that qualify, would be either 60 or older, residents of nursing homes, or there's an interesting little niche that I don't deal with the eligibility criteria, but if you're a veteran with a disability rating of 70% or greater, you would qualify for this service, but please don't ask me what that means. That's my boss that handles all that stuff.
I know it always surprised me that just hitting 60, you automatically.
You automatically
I didn't
qualify.
know that.
And so what that is a curb to curb service, and we will bring you anywhere within our service area. So it varies depending on service provider and where you live. So if you live in Greenfield, you have our biggest service providers. So they have the biggest service area. So you have access, again, 7 days a week. You can travel anytime between 5:30 and 7:30, 5:30 AM, 7:30 PM, Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, 9:30 to 5:30.
And what's like? How far in advance do you need to ask for it, or can you ask it right? And then how long would it take for you to get it, or which is
Another
the
excellent
general?
question. You brought your A game today. So we allow anyone that qualifies for our demand response program to be able to schedule up to 2 months in advance.
Okay,
Or you can schedule as soon as right now.
okay.
Not right now, because I believe our staff has gone home, but you can schedule real time. So if
Okay.
you woke up this morning and said, I really need to do something, go to the pharmacy, go to the grocery store, go to the hairdresser, see my friend, go out to lunch, you can call today and we'll schedule the ride. Obviously, we need to have availability. So as long as there's room on the bus, and we'll get into that in two more, we'll explain that a little bit
I'll
more.
hold that
Um,
question.
And they'll take you to a specific address or to a stop somewhere?
Oh, it's already.
So it's what we call curb to curb.
Okay.
So we won't go into your house, so it's not that level of service,
Yeah.
but yes, so if you want to go to shopping, grocery store, pharmacy, doctor's appointments, anything,
The garage where your car is, yeah.
we can bring you to the garage where your car is, absolutely.
And these are not free.
Holland.
We can't do well, you can't go to Tolland from Greenfield. But soon, we will have a consortium with Southwick and Tolland and Granville that will have its own distinct service area in Hampden County. So they would go to, so we look at what locations are in close proximity, and it's not an exact science, but we would want to know where the major medical providers are, your major shopping plazas and those types of things. So Greenfield, obviously Greenfield has all of those grocery stores, doctors' offices and those types of things. Southwick and Tolland, they would go to Westfield or Agawam or Springfield.
So demand response is need-based and needs are demonstrated.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's
As a-
5:30
As
to
a Greenfield
7:30?
person, if my doctor's appointment is out
Only
of town,
in the Greenfield
Yeah,
area.
I'm
it
talking
is.
about
Yes.
Rachel, yeah.
Yep.
Did you say,
if my doctor's appointment is outside of Greenfield, how far?
So another layer of the onion.
before we get off this, sorry, did you say demand response is needs based? It's not. You can be 60.
No, but I'm saying if you're 60
Yeah.
and you feel like going to Tallinn for no good reason, you're not going to be
Hmm.
taking demand response. But if you have a doctor that happens to be in Tallinn and you don't have a car, then you could.
We have a different program for
Yeah.
that.
So I wanted to stay on demand response for a second. I want to, it's not free. I wanted to clarify that. It's cheap, but it's not free. It's inexpensive.
So right now,
Yep.
it is free.
Okay.
We received some additional funding through MassDOT last year. So as of November of 24 through October of 25, we had a year's worth of funding to
Okay.
make the demand response free, similar to what we did with the fixed route services.
It's not in the brochure, but
We didn't change it in the brochure because we weren't sure how long, but we like to give our clients a nice, happy little surprise when they call to say,
Nice.
guess what? You don't have to pay.
and there's also some group grocery trips, right?
And we do gross, yes. So we do have a separate contract with the Big Y and Stop and Shop grocery stores to be able to bring customers to their grocery stores on specific days. And this is beyond Greenfield. This applies to other towns as well. And they do reimburse us some of the cost of transportation for that.
Thanks, Brian. I just wanted to cover the demand response part. Thank you.
All
Yes,
good
they
questions.
We're moving on to a different part of the onion.
So the next level to address your questions is we have what's called the Med Ride program. And this started as a volunteer-based, specifically for demand response eligible clients, for long distance medical transportation. It was a gap in our service that we knew people needed. And pre-COVID, people would volunteer all the time. So we'd have volunteers with their own vehicles and we would match the client with the volunteer and they'll bring you to your doctor's appointment and back. Now, we still do that. So the brochure is still accurate, but we're in the middle of morphing the program a little bit. So we found that it has been very difficult to retain volunteers and to recruit new volunteers. So what we've started doing is shifting a little bit to open up beyond volunteers to work again with our partners, our transportation partners. And we have acquired fully accessible minivans that we've started rolling out throughout our fleet to be able to use those to supplement our MedRide program. So if you have a doctor's appointment, and what we consider long distance is anything out of county. So if you live in Franklin County and you need to go to a doctor's appointment outside of Franklin County, we would pair you up with the MedRide program. So we would first look for a volunteer. We still have a small group of volunteers that are willing to do that. And if that doesn't work out, we have some of our partners, our transportation partners that have access to these minivans. So it does two things. It helps to ensure that the program keeps running. And now we have fully accessible vehicles. So whereas before with a volunteer, they use their own personal vehicle, which is not accessible. Now, if you do have mobility needs, we do have vehicles that can accommodate you. So it's kind of a twofold thing. So we're still shifting. This has been very new in the last couple of months. So we're still working out all the kinks. But that would get you to medical appointments.
So people who live in the hill towns and the little places also, so that you know, we've been focused, you've been using the word Greenfield, but I assume.
Yes. So essentially what our MedRide program does is no matter where you live in our service area, we will bring you to a medical appointment outside of the county you live in. And that's geared towards, and we're trying to ramp that up now that we've, I think it was, last year we acquired 3 minivans, and then we just brought in 2 more, this past month. We're trying to get them online. So we're slowly rolling this out so we can have
It's
this
amazing.
ramped up.
And if one of the volunteers is available and the person they want to bring doesn't have a handicapped accessibility need, do they still ride in the volunteer's car? Or do you require the volunteers to now use your minivans?
We would use one of our other contractors, our partners, to provide that transportation.
So no longer are volunteers using their own cars.
They are, but we wouldn't require the volunteer to drive our van.
Oh, you would,
But if the
okay.
person has a
So
disability,
if we.
They don't have a
Oh,
disability.
if they
If
don't.
we know in advance that they need an accessible vehicle, we would not call the volunteers. We would go directly to one of our transportation partners.
Volunteers drive their own vehicles.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. And again, no, with these extra funds, just like the demand response program, the MedRide program, there's no costs for the riders, which has been, that has been the most impactful for people. Prior to these additional funds, we would charge 40 cents per mile, which, while it sounds reasonable, depending on the distance you're going, if you're going to Boston, it can be quite costly. But people still do find a way, make a way. So, we're excited to be able to have these extra funds. So that's been very impactful. Having these additional vehicles has been impactful. The last part of the, so 2 more pieces to the paratransit onion. We have what's called the Americans with Disabilities Act. So because we receive federal funding, we are required to provide what's called ADA transportation services. It's complementary to our fixed route, which means it operates during the same hours and days as our fixed route does. And it is specifically for those that are unable to use our fixed route services due to their disability. It's a eligibility qualification process. You have to have your doctor sign off on a part of it to show that you are
And say
eligible.
again what you call this, that service?
The shorthand name, we call it ADA,
Okay.
Americans with Disabilities.
Okay.
It's complimentary complimentary paratransit service. But we call it ADA to keep it nice and short. And again, because the fixed route is free, there's no cost for any of the ADA riders. And then the last piece is our newest piece of the paratransit onion. We call it the Access Program. The best way I can describe it to people is the public transportation version of Uber or Lyft. It's a technology-driven, app-based transit program that utilizes our existing fleet of drivers and vehicles. And it maximizes the use of the empty seats on those vehicles to fill them with people from the general public. So if you don't qualify for ADA or for our demand response, and you can't ride our fixed route because it's too far for you to get to, this helps fill that gap again.
What is this called?
We call it the access program. So it's essentially, it's open to the general public, so anyone can use it. People love it because it is app-based and they can self-schedule. For those that can't or don't want to, you can still call our office and we can still help schedule rides for you in person. But by allowing people to self-schedule, we have not had to hire any additional staff to man for additional phone traffic. So we've essentially doubled our ridership with this program
Wow.
with only incrementally increasing costs. And the only reason for that was because this has become so popular, we've had the ability to add more drivers and more vehicles in to keep filling these needs. So there's lots of needs out there.
This app, the one that goes through Access as well?
Yep. Yep, that's the one.
Question, like, what kinds of addresses you all will pick up from? Like, does it need to be a home residence or it literally could be anywhere?
It literally can be anywhere. So for the access program, we have defined zones. And right now we have 4. We're working to roll out a 5th. And essentially you can travel anywhere within your zone, which is a grouping of towns. And we will allow you to travel one zone over. And what we did with this program, we started it in late 2019, just before the pandemic. We wanted to start very small to keep it controlled. We didn't want costs to get out of control. And so we've been taking these incremental approaches in making these changes. It started only during the week, then we expanded it to the weekend. We started adding more vehicles, more availability, and then we started making more zones as it goes. And there's still trips that we turn away because we cannot simply fill all of the needs.
So at any one moment, like how many vehicles will be out and about?
That's a good question. I don't have that offhand, but if I were to guess, I would say 6 or 7
Oh, okay.
at any given
Oh,
point in
okay.
time in the day.
It gives me an idea.
Yeah. Yep. So the access program is the only program that we continue to charge fares for. And that is in an effort to control the amount of transportation. We want people to continue using our fixed route. That's our bread and butter. Biggest vehicles go to the major destinations. So we want people to encourage that. But because we're small and rural, we don't have the luxury of offering bus service every 15 minutes, every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes. So all of our routes are, in town, they're an hour headway. So there's hour between each run. Routes that go out of town at best go every 2 hours. Some of them are even longer than that. So there's a convenience factor to using the access program, but there's also capacity issues. So we continue to charge for that, but we try to keep the fares to what we believe is reasonable. So within travel of one zone, we charge you $3 per one-way trip, and a second zone over, it's $4.
Compared to a taxi or an Uber.
And because there is no taxi service in Franklin County, there is limited and sporadic Uber and Lyft, but we know that it's expensive for people to take if they can even get them up here. So our point is to have people use the fixed route, but for those that can't, for any reason, to be able to have an option to using the access program, we want to make it affordable.
And you said there's no taxi service in Franklin County now? Is that what you
If
said?
there is, I'm not aware of it.
Because there used to be.
There used, yes, years ago. The closest that I'm aware of is out of Northampton and out of Amherst. And I know that they will come into Greenfield. I don't know what they charge, but just things I hear along the way. Same with Uber and Lyft. I know that they will come out of Northampton and Amherst to come into Greenfield, but I have heard that it's upwards of $40 one way.
Hmm.
So obviously sometimes it's cost prohibitive for people that are without cars.
I see these things that say MJT on them.
Yeah, what's
So,
that?
I'm only familiar with MGT because, prior to the pandemic, another layer of our onion, which we no longer have, would have been what we call, human service transportation. Or, for the users, it would be PT1 transportation, prescription for transportation. It's, transportation through, the Medicaid program. And I'm familiar with MJT because they used to be one of our contractors for that program, which is now operated through Montechusett Regional Transit Authority out of Fitchburg. They do about 75% of the entire state. And that's only for Medicaid clients that have eligibility for transportation. A great question.
Yeah.
Seeing people buzzing around.
So I know you're hesitant to toot your own horn, Michael, but the access program is something FRTA pioneered.
Yes.
And my understanding is the other regional transit authorities around the state were impressed by it and started to be influenced. Is
Kudos.
that accurate?
It is, so, for decades, you only had essentially two choices. You had your fixed route or your not fixed route, and we all called it something different. Basically, senior transportation or ADA's transportation for people with disabilities. This really enabled us, the timing was very serendipitous. So the software that we were working with for our paratransit program approached us in early 2019 and said, we're looking to develop an app to go along with this software, which would enable people to self-schedule. And because we've been working with seniors and people with disabilities for so long, the older adult population really likes to use the telephone. So getting them to use an app, the majority of them won't. Some of them will, and they do with the access program and love it. So what we tried to do was think outside of the box and said, well, we know that, talking about full and empty, we know that there are seats on all of our vans running throughout the day and they're empty. And there's only so many people that, we can put on a bus at any one time, going in any one direction. And we know there's only so many people that meet these qualifications for our demand response service. So we just wanted to try something. So we said, well, let's make it so that we can fill these existing empty seats without, with really minimizing any added costs. And it's really worked out very well for us. I've spoken to a number of other RTAs in the state. I've spoken to other people in other states. I've spoken with other nonprofit organizations. The terminology people tend to use is like microtransit. So that's essentially what this is, called microtransit. So it's basically trying to fill that gap, and technology is really driving what this is. And for us, it's really helped people because we knew that there are people that don't meet our demand response qualifications, but if our fixed route service, if the timing doesn't meet you to get to work or to school or to whatever it is, or if the walk from your home is in excess of what you can get to or bike to, then essentially you're forced to have a car, which we know is very cost prohibitive. It's very expensive. And I'm not a planner, so I don't dare start touching onto demographics and those types of things, but working with the FRCOG and others, we know we needed to do something, and we just tried it.
Kudos
And it really just worked.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
for your creativity.
thank you.
so, again, I can't speak to the increase in transportation. I can give you some rough estimates. I can tell you today, we're averaging roughly 2,750 trips per month for our paratransit program,
Oh,
system-wide. So that's all of our ADA, all of our demand response, all of our MedRide access everything for all of our 42 towns. Obviously, Franklin Transit Management in Franklin County is going to have the lion's share of that because that's where the largest population is, but
That was 750 trips per month,
2750.
20.
And I would say roughly, oh, I'm sorry, you had your.
No, please finish.
I would say roughly, I would say that's probably close to double what we would have provided pre-pandemic, pre-pandemic, pre-COVID.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, in 5 years.
Oh. Jonah,
It's incredible, Michael. Thanks so much for sharing this. It's very encouraging to hear this progress. I have a question, but first, Garth in the chat has asked about the access program, if it's available just on an app or if you can access it through a phone call or another way.
Yep, you can do either one.
Either one. Okay.
Yep, yep. So it's on app for both for any smart device through Apple or Android. Just search for FRTA and it'll come up. If you don't want to, you can always contact our office and we can help you get set up and we can help schedule transportation.
Great.
Good question.
And then the other thing, I was just I'm not as familiar with the master plan's transportation chapter, so I was just looking at it, and it looks like there's a couple that directly relate to your work. One, you're completely hitting out of the park with increasing access and expanded service over the last 10 years. Sounds like it's a dramatic increase, and the word is there will be a dramatic increase. So that seems like a tremendous success there. I'm curious about another area that we haven't talked about yet. One of our goals is to reduce emissions and fuel use and air pollution by vehicles. And just curious if there's been progress in that department for FRTA.
Yep, and we can certainly transition over to that. As part of our fleet, so most of our fleet is conventional regular gas internal combustion engines or diesel for some of our larger transit buses. But we have started moving into alternative propulsions, alternative fuels. Being small and rural, it's very hard to get funding. But we've really worked hard with partnering with MassDOT to just try to dip our toe in as much as possible. So what we do, which tends to give our operations and our maintenance people an ulcer, unfortunately, is I'm not opposed to just trying things. So if you look back even 15 or 20 years ago, we had two types of vehicles. We had a large transit bus, like a city bus that you'd normally think of in your mind's eye, which would be diesel power. And then you'd have a smaller, for our paratransit services, smaller van. Generally speaking, would be 12 or 14 passenger, and that would be a gasoline vehicle. Since then, technology's advanced. New vendors have come into the market. So I love trying new things. And the rest of the world that works under me hates it. Because you're learning, if you're a driver and you have to learn how to drive 8 different types of vehicles at any given day, that can be frustrating. Or if you're a mechanic trying to fix 8 different types of vehicles, or even with different engine models and drivetrains, it can get complex. So we do have our traditional city transit buses, 30, 35 footers. Those are the big ones that we'll have on our fixed line runs. We have some, we call them mini buses. So it'd be less than a 30-foot bus, generally what we call a body on chassis. It'd be like an 18 or 19 passenger. Primarily would be used for fixed routes on some of our smaller fixed route, but they also can be flexible to use on our paratransit services. And then we have all of our vans and minivans that strictly do demand response services. And that's really where the mix has been these last several years. So traditionally, we would have we called a conventional paratransit van. So looks like a minibus. You open the door and there's 3 or 4 steps to get up to the top where the driver's sitting, which would be where the fare box would have been. And then behind the driver, you'd have 10 or 12 or 14 seats, and that would have been the standard model 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. Since then, they've adopted a lot of different vehicles. People have been trying new things into the market. So what we've been doing these last few years, we've acquired some what we call low floor paratransit vehicles. So like a transit bus would have no step getting into it. It's a flat floor. You'd have a ramp that would flip out. So it's a flat floor. There's no stairs until you get to the back of the bus. And then you have 1 or 2 steps up over the rear axle. And that's what we've been using with some of our paratransit vans, smaller model, but no step to get in. It's made a huge impact, particularly on our older adult population, not having to climb stairs to get in. Make it a lot easier for people.
And
Drivers
those
love it.
still run on gasoline. I know you have
They
some
do still run on
hybrids.
gasoline. Those ones specifically, so the problem is there's weight restrictions. So the DOT classifies vehicles. So anything that is 14 passengers or less that does not require a CDL license has to be less than, I believe it's 10,000 pounds. And when you have a vehicle that small with that many people, adding a heavy battery into there. So they haven't found the secret sauce to that yet, but I know people are working on it. Some of the other things we've been doing, we talked about minivans. So now we have the ability to acquire fully accessible minivans. When I say accessible, I mean they're suitable for wheelchairs for people to use. And then very recently, we acquired 3 fully electric Ford E-Transit vans, which are great because they're electric, but we took a step back because they're
Not accessible.
difficult steps to get into.
Mm.
So we're trying to balance, and we're just trying new things to see how things work, and getting feedback from the drivers and getting feedback from the riders, so we know what direction to keep moving in. I will skip ahead because I know we're sustainable, so we want to talk about these things. So one of the things we're actually working on, we have a project now. We have a contract with Mass CEC, which is the Clean Energy Center. We'll go with that, Clean Energy Center, and a partnership with Mass DOT and their consultant. And what we're going to do is conduct some research and basically develop a roadmap for FRTA. And we're calling it an implementation plan, to be able to look at transitioning our entire fleet to either electric or some other alternative propulsion system. And then in addition to that, we have funding to purchase 2 to 3, depending on the final costs, electric buses and charging equipment, to be able to test these vehicles on our fixed route operations. So our 4 E-Transit vans that we just acquired, those are strictly because of the size, they're strictly for our paratransit program. And what we want to do is be able to start testing vehicles on our fixed routes, so we can get a good mix of both to see how they're working in our service area specifically. And part of this project, we're actually working with the FRCOG, and they're going to be putting out a survey very soon to solicit feedback and input regarding the design and the implementation of this fleet transition. It's going to be targeted towards bus riders, but we'll certainly take feedback from other people. So I'm more than happy to share that survey with this committee, and please feel free to share it out beyond there. So we can get some feedback, and that will help kind of drive the consultant as they're coming up with this roadmap for us.
Thank you, Michael. I know we have to wrap up just because of time.
Yeah.
I remember when you shared with us at the committee, transit subcommittee, and we're though not in fact, conceptually, we thought of the FRTA as a public utility, though it's not part of town government. And I know that we talked about the partnership with the town, and in the master plan, one of the implementation steps was for the town to build a municipal parking garage to help with multimodal connection to trains and buses. And that's happened. And I wondered, as the last point, is there anything you can think of that the city could do to support public transit at this point?
Well, you really put me on the spot.
Just, you don't have to answer right now, but just throwing it out there. So
Sure, you've thought about it.
I think I'm the one on the spot, is the city.
I don't know. Nothing jumps out front of mind.
Is the app featured on our kiosk?
I don't know, but I do, only because I wasn't involved in that process. We are very excited. Our operations supervisor actually had the idea, so I said, go forth and try it. I don't know who she contacted at the city and just asked, hey, can we get into your kiosk? And somebody said yes. So I know information is in there. I don't know specifically what is in there. But we could certainly entertain that. Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
very elegant little app.
Yeah, so, anything that the city can do to help promote us,
Okay.
obviously, we would love that.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Specifically, yeah, I don't know, but you go ahead,
I
questions.
just have one other question. It's kind of from a events and business standpoint. I was wondering if do you ever engage in the ability of a business or event to wrap buses, pay to wrap buses to advertise? And or I know we've been in a little bit of a transportation challenge around like the fairgrounds to downtown for different events and things. Do you ever have, this might be a crazy question, do you ever have extra vehicles that if scheduled ahead of time could be rented by the city and or the fairgrounds and or an event producer to utilize on a sort of specific route for an event? Or no? No is totally acceptable answer. I have a long list of rental companies, but I'm just curious. This is a different hat.
I heard three questions and I'm just trying to remember them. So one of my many hats is advertising. It's the bane of my existence.
Sorry.
Because that's not what we do as the core. To answer your question, we would allow people to wrap an advertisement on our buses. I've never in the 20 years that I've been in charge of advertising had anybody come that close to actually wrapping one of our buses. It's
expensive.
cost prohibitive. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
I've even gone so far, and I would even offer this to anyone in the room. If you did want to, we wouldn't charge you to do it. It's already enough to wrap the bus, because I don't know what the cost of that is.
Mhm.
I can put you in touch with people that I know do it,
Mhm.
and you're free to do your own research. But if somebody wanted to, I think that would be a great way to kind of showcase what that looks like,
Yeah.
to show others, because no one's done it for us yet.
Okay.
Then you had
My,
two other questions. So, question number one, do we have extra buses? The short answer is no.
or vehicles.
The short answer is the vehicles. The short answer is no.
Okay.
Not that we can't. It takes a lot of planning and execution. So years and years and years and years and years ago, we were working with whatever the organization was running the Green River Fest.
Mhm.
And we would bring in, and of course, we didn't have weekend service at the time, which now makes it a little bit more complicated.
Mhm.
And we would bring in buses and we would bring people in, and they would shuttle people from an offsite lot to the festival and back and forth.
Precisely.
So we do have the ability to do that. No, you can't pay us to do it. That would go against our federal funding, so that's considered charter service, so we're not allowed to do that. So we would have to do it for free, which complicates it even more.
Yeah.
But it's not insurmountable.
Okay.
So we do something similar with the North Quabbin, the Garlic Fest in Orange every summer. So it's not insurmountable, but it becomes much more difficult now that we're operating both fixed route and paratransit on the weekends.
Understood.
Trying to find extra vehicle, it depends on how many you're talking. It depends on the amount of resources you're looking for, because we are, I say we, when I say we, I mean the greater we, because I
Yes.
consider all of our transportation partners part of our family. So we are still struggling to retain staff just to drive our normal transit services. So to have, and a lot of them are not able to work additional hours because they're already taking on additional shifts during the week.
Understood.
So if you have something specific, we could certainly talk offline
Okay.
to see if it's something we could do, but I can't make any promises.
Is it possible to make a donation to FRTA?
Why?
Of course. Or is that against the law? Against
As
your
as
federal
long
contract?
as it is not in direct relation to a particular service.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, you can make a donation, yes. As long as it's not overtly.
Gee, that was for the county fair.
Thanks
Yeah.
for the charter service. We don't, because we get so much federal funding, we're not able to, per federal regulations, we're not set up to compete with charter organizations like Cosmeskis and First Student and Greenfield.
Thank
I
you.
do have questions.
Yes,
I know we're
quick
trying to
final question.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, quick follow-up.
Sorry, my
Yeah.
two hopefully quick-ish questions. One is, if someone would like to add a bus stop, is that possible? Like, for example, for an encampment where there are unhoused people, like, could a bus stop be added if there's lots of demand there? What would be the best way to demonstrate? If that's workable.
You're always asking, you guys are asking really great questions. I wish it was a short answer. The short answer, I can say, call me and I'll put you in touch with our general manager. Technically speaking, our assistant general manager is in charge of overseeing bus stops and any implementation of new bus stops. But he is out on leave, so I forward all of that to our general manager. There is a process to go through it. And then depending on the owner of the property will depend on the level of complication of getting the stop set up, but it's not insurmountable. But if you think of an idea that this would be a great place to have a bus stop, just shoot me an email or give me a call. George has all of my contact information he can share with everybody and we can help.
And your second question?
Second question, which is just like, are we okay with, like, how's federal funding? Is that at risk and fair share, the state surtax, like just funding?
So I do many things. One of the things I don't do is drive the bus. You probably don't want to see that. And the other thing I don't do is bookkeeping. So from my perspective, I go until my boss tells me to stop. We're not in any imminent danger of losing any of our funding. There's no indication of that at our board meeting next week. There's no indication we won't be telling our board the sky is falling. All signs point to things are okay. They're not great, they're okay. They're okay. Everything's stable. We anticipate having enough funding to continue the services we have, the services we're planning to launch, continuing forward with all of our projects, new vehicles.
I'll just say, after years of hard advocacy, got the weekend service finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the
Very
difference in the
Yeah.
last 10 years is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Simply amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank
yeah.
you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
It's not without the support from the public, the support from all the cities and towns, from people like you with the committees. It's to have that positive support drives us to be able to show people, funders, to say, hey, we need this, let's go try it. And people are using it, which is fantastic.